Greetings, salutations, all you beautiful pixels out there, and welcome to the evening selling the Maelstrom. It is I, Lucian Fricks, the ex-gingerbeard man himself, because I'm clean shaved, and I'm joined today with the head screenwriter for Polyslash Gaming. That is based off their new game, Tribe Primitive Builder. This is Kajetan. How you doing today, my guy?
I'm doing great. Thanks for the invite.
Thank you for sitting down with us. And before we get started on the juice of the interview itself, let's go and take a look at that game right now.
Telaka axile, lauka una sa pulaka, tu sa bandita basa tu sa belaka, pero wisa pulaka tu sa frumba, dasa tepala, dasa watire, wisa kovanga tu sa faula, solaka, tuelas, isa ang lawangka, tu sa adawaka tu sa walamenta basa dasa kuela sa tu. Vuela, y se vuela tusa vuela, atusa, huancachuelas, torrangas, anatica, dasa macala, ausa, ribe prospala, tusa crapa mandala, isa visuela, conga, tayanda, waka, ausa, conga, camprahana. Pero aunque tralla tusa la wanda sharagana. Conga, tu sa makala ausa, batala danga axile e vengala dramakile. Pasa exploranga, dasa isla tu sa conga fine, dasa fuega tala tribes. Chonka temala, hebala tamala kana tu sa gofanga. Basa setala trada rautas, tu sa conga rastala, disa longala lasa alianzas. Chusa conga branca, tuga talaga, fuela tribes, dasa isle, dasa banashide. Bagala, dasa dongala, esa ria wala, dasa fuela montaña grauta, mola angala, basa dasa dia. Eponga usa, bafonga, dasa latala, rasanga misa, wonga misa satala vuela. Onga tu sakana savanga awusa.
Love the look of that game. Love the feel of the game. That language, magnificent. But let's start at the beginning of the game. How did your work begin with Tribe?
I got brought on about halfway, maybe a little bit later in the project. I was working at another game for Polyslash, and I got invited to join the Tribe team.
Okay.
So I joined a bit about February, I believe, and we worked on the demo together. I helped rewrite all the dialogues for the demo, and we worked from there to finish the story. The team knew what they were doing. We wanted to capture that feeling of vacation time, but at the same time we wanted to add a little excitement, a little danger, we call it that. So we have the ticking clock of a volcano on our island,
Okay.
and we wanted to expand that with the story.
So game starts, it's in production, you get brought in, they tell you, this is what we have, this is what we need you to do. You got the story in your mind. How did you advance the story with your work?
Yeah, they worked out the mechanics more or less. There was some trimming, as it usually happens with small teams. So we knew what mechanics we wanted for each of the areas of the island. The island has 4 separate lands, should we call them, and each of these lands had a special mechanic that we wanted to introduce to the player, and we wanted the story to guide the player, and at the same time to give those who are looking for a story some meat to grab onto, other than just being part of the new tribe each time you enter a new area of the island.
Okay, and you mentioned that you're the squad leader, the squad, and everybody in between. That you're the head screenwriter, you're the only screenwriter. How many were on the team as a whole?
About 10 people, I would say, with producers, and then we had some testers, also a team of testers that I don't know how many were actually on it, and I also worked with a team of translators because we wanted to bring the game to as many languages as we could. So we have 21 languages at launch.
21 languages?
Yeah, I wrote the English and Polish versions, and then we worked with some number of translators. Some worked bilingual too, so we had a couple translators that I had to work with.
I gotta
It was
know.
fun but challenging.
I gotta know. Is that 21 in counting the language y'all have for the game?
No, that's a special language that we worked with an actor to achieve. Guy knew how to get the essence of what we were going for and to make it sound real, even though it is a little creative license.
So you work mainly on the story, the flow, and the pacing of the game. What would you say is the strongest part of the story?
I think that the strongest part of the story is probably towards the end, where it starts coming together, because the game is based on those 4 parts of the island. You start with one, then you travel to the second one, then you find the pathway to the third one, then the fourth one, and your goal as the builder is to unite all the tribes of the island. And I'm pretty proud of how it works in the game, when you actually get to the part where you have all the tribes.
What is something you hope everybody who plays Tribe Primitive Builder sees at least once?
What we work really hard to achieve is the sense of belonging to the tribe. You start the game on our Isle of the Banished by getting fish out of the water. You join the part of the group of exiles that already have set up a little community there, and you try to blend in, to join, and with time you try to become one of their leaders as a builder, because you have the special visions from the gods that they worship, and you want to actually guide them and lead them, and you want to build the stronger sense between the tribesmen. Okay. So what we want and everyone to see is probably that unity. As you start building out your tribe, you can probably get a sense that you actually see the progress that you set out. You want a fisherman to do this, you want a cook to do this, and when it starts to click and the tribe becomes a little bit more self-sustainable, you don't have to micromanage everything at a certain point, and then you can actually just sit back, take a moment, relax, and watch how your tribe prospers. So I really love those moments.
What can you tell us about the soundtrack?
Yeah, I saw that comment. I liked it, enjoyed it very much. Actually, the soundtrack was one of the last parts that we added to the game. We had our wonderful composer, Piotr Sadowski, actually composed the music from scratch. He's really talented, so he brought that real feeling of unity, of experiencing this island, this fresh new world, and it really comes together when you add the music.
How did you get into writing for games?
I actually didn't set out to write for games originally. When I was in high school, I was thinking that my future is in directing movies, and so because I couldn't find anyone to write the scripts, I started writing the screenplays myself. I actually went to a university to study film from a more historical angle. I went into film studies, but we had a course in screenwriting there. So I figured, hey, I want to direct someday, so maybe I should focus on that. I actually fell in love with writing movies. I kept writing movies. My thesis at the end, when I delivered my master's degree, was actually a screenplay for a Western. I kept writing movies. I wrote a few more movies. I wrote a TV show that I'm hoping, it's a fantasy TV show that I'm going to someday maybe turn into a book or a series of books, actually. But I always loved games. Games were a big part of me, actually. I started playing games when I was 4 years old. So I just started exploring the industry here. Turns out the industry in Poland is actually pretty big. I applied for a marketing job, actually, and my boss actually was looking for a screenwriter at the time, and he figured, hey, this guy looks good, let's try to give him a chance. And
so between your work with games, movies, and TV shows, what would you say your favorite project with your name on it is? And I'm gonna go ahead and take tribe off the table, just so there's no bias.
Probably the fantasy show. As I started Tolkien-esque, I drew a map. I figured, the map needs this and this and this to happen. The characters I had an idea for from a short film I wrote when I was studying screenwriting, and I figured why not expand it. I kept writing it, and I'm actually writing the third season now, and hopefully I can turn it into some books somewhere down the line.
So what have you learned from working on movies, TVs, and your previous works that will help influence how you make games for Polyslash or other companies going forward?
The thing that drew me most to writing screenplays instead of books was the focus on dialogue. The screenplay is like 80% dialogue, and I really love dialogue. I actually focused the most on it when I was studying it, the screenwriting in my classes. I always loved dialogue. Hopefully I have a knack for it to make it sound as realistic as possible.
Be 100% honest with you, every comment, every review I've seen so far, and I have it pulled up on the right monitor over here, all these are overwhelmingly positive. I think I saw a total of 3 negative reviews out of the 94 posted, and almost all of them mention how amazing the story is and how great the dialogue is. So I think you do have a knack for it.
We hope so. Yeah, so that was the source of why I thought I would be good for games, because when you play games, the part of the writing you mostly see is the dialogue. You know, the dialogue is basically showing character through their words. Yeah. So you try to give as much of the character without saying who the character is.
Where do you see your magnum opus being? Like, what is your masterpiece project that you would like to come to fruition?
Yeah, I never think of it that way. When I started writing, I got a list together, like, I want to write a Western, a fantasy, and this and this and that. And I just keep adding things to that list because I love all the genres when I explore them more. So I don't know what my magnum opus would be. Hopefully it's good.
Okay, well, while you're writing this list of things you want to add, if you ever wanted to add a fat guy with glasses with a plant on his head into one of them, we will not say no. Perhaps, who knows?
We can work on cameos.
So if you could work your magic on any gaming franchise that already exists, what would be your dream game to work on?
That's a good one, actually. Probably Star Wars. That was my first storytelling love of my life. If I can get anywhere near the Star Wars canon, I would love to just study from people that are already doing it, because I love that universe, how it's getting expanded upon, and I'm the type of fan that doesn't criticize. I just focus on things I love, so I would love to add something in there.
Well, we've talked about the game, we've talked about the developers. Let's talk about the community itself. You had mentioned that the developers are very active on the Discord. Does that ever infringe on your time you spend making the games?
Yeah, as a writer, I try to not be too reactionary, because sometimes you read. I heard stories about the people that read one review, they focus on it too much, whether it's positive or negative. I don't want to get ahead of myself and think I'm too good. I don't want to feel down either, so I don't focus on it too much. But we do listen. We do try to get all the information possible. And for example, in the demo, when we had a character that some people didn't like, they felt like he was making the Polynesian people a bit to a caricature of what a tribesman would be. We worked on the dialogue to change the approach, and we rewrote it so when the second version of the demo went out, we already had that character worked out a bit differently.
Okay.
And the response was more positive since then, so hopefully people like the version we have in the game.
If multiplayer gets added, do you see the developers perhaps playing with the community or getting involved with them in gameplay nights?
Oh yeah, probably, definitely. That's something that a lot of I saw a lot of like things I could learn probably from that. I'm not a big multiplayer guy myself, but I enjoy certain experiences in multiplayer, and probably playing a game that I worked on with somebody online would be a great experience. Hopefully one day.
This is an issue that I personally have. I have problems with, and I like to discuss it with indie developers to get their perspective on it. I know you said you like to focus on the positive and you don't like to focus on the negative at all, so I want to get your perspective on this. What is your opinion on rage reviewers? People who buy the game strictly for the premise of playing it for 20 minutes and trashing it for content.
That's certainly a form of entertainment. I guess I probably have fun watching those myself. In the past, I get where it's coming from. It has roots in people's nature. We want to see things being trashed. I hope that people that do play our game give it a fair shot, and hopefully don't trash it for the sake of trashing it.
And now on to my favorite segment of the interviews, our community questions. I have reached out for the last 48 hours to not only your community, but my community as well. Not sure about your fans, but the people who follow me are pretty crazy. Some of them are even children. But that's okay, because we're going for the mind of a child right now as I ask you these community questions, handpicked by myself, some from very weird sources. Just do me a favor, answer first thing comes to mind, quick as you got. Are you ready?
Hope so. Let's go.
All right. We're going to start off really simple. What game that you've played hits you in your feels the most? EK Society would like to know.
Assassin's Creed 2, the beginning of the story in Florence.
Okay. Would you rather eat a horse or pet an untamed lion? Oddybody wants to know.
Pet an untamed lion.
Not a horse fan. Not a horse fan. Sephiroth, my son, actually, wants to know, what is your favorite snack while gaming through hardcore sessions?
I don't know. Just water.
Water?
I try to get hydrated when I play because I tend to get hooked on a game when I'm really into it, and I just try to always put a glass of water on my desk so I remember to hydrate.
Jay Teller wants to know, what is your favorite guilty pleasure movie or game? And that's one that you're almost ashamed to admit you like. What's your favorite guilty pleasure?
The first Michael Bay Transformers movie. I think it's actually pretty good, and the soundtrack is wonderful.
Good. Ross from the Maelstrom Hold wants to know, why? Not about the last question, just in general. Why?
Why not?
That's fair. And as always, thank you, Kajetan, for sitting down with us today. Be sure to check out Tribe Primitive Builder on Steam right now. I believe it's on sale, 20% off for $17.99. Massive thanks for y'all for joining with us. And in a few minutes, we're going to be going live for our live giveaway and playthrough of it. Back to you, future Lucian.